This is a series that will cover all 10 teams and what to expect for them coming into the 2025 Formula 1 season. The lower ranked teams from last year's Constructors' Championship will be done in pairs of 2, whilst the top teams will get their own videos. But starting off with today's team pairing, we have Williams and Sauber. I'll start off with Sauber. Sauber finished last year's World Constructors' Championship in last place, and they haven't been going well throughout the entirety of the Ground Effect era. The first year of these technical regulations, 2022, Sauber had the lightest car of anyone on the grid, but other big budget teams couldn't manage to get their cars down to the minimum weight, so they complained that it was impossible to reach the minimum weight under 2022 technical regulations, despite the fact that Sauber, a team previously famous for producing heavy cars, demonstrated that it was in fact possible and for a smaller budget. But the FIA listened to the complaints of the big teams and raised the minimum weight. This left Sauber with a short wheelbase car that therefore had less ground effect aero, and now had to be just as heavy as all the other cars by adding ballast. The big teams doing the F1 equivalent of effectively asking for a BOP adjustment against Sauber for some reason. The team was into the new regulation cycle on the back foot with a car that wasn't suitable, and that trend has continued into 2025. Testing has shown the car to be slow and difficult to drive, and you can already pretty much confirm that Sauber will be classified last in the 2025 World Constructors' standings. The driver lineup features 2 drivers who do not have previous experience driving a recently built Sauber. Nico Hülkenberg's last time in a Sauber was 12 years ago, so there won't be any carryover, but at least he has plenty of general F1 experience. But his teammate, Gabriel Bortoleto, is one who's really going to have to get up to speed quickly. Of course, rookie drivers are nothing new to this sport. Well, they are by definition something new to the sport, but the concept of rookie drivers is not new. But often a rookie will be paired with a driver who has already been in the team for at least a year and is familiar with that team's car, so they can get a good baseline. Sauber has 2 drivers who don't know the car, and that makes all the difference, even if one of the 2 is highly experienced. The team is unlikely to spend any time developing their car this year, as all development work is set to focus on the Audi F1 program. Sauber, for the first time since 2008, actually has money now, so they'll be able to get some work done on 2026. Audi will also want all investment to go towards 2026, since the current car won't carry any Audi branding at all, so to them it doesn't matter how it performs. In fact, I'd be very surprised if we see Sauber bring a single update for the entirety of 2025. What we are likely to see is different aero specs, which will be things such as the Monza wings, but those will most likely be similar, if not identical, to what was on last year's car. I suspect that what Sauber has brought to testing this year will be the be-all and end-all. The good news in this is that it will give Bortoleto and Hülkenberg some time out of the spotlight and at the back of the field to become familiar with the team, so when Audi comes in, they'll be fully integrated and giving the very best of technical feedback. But it's not just Sauber who was near the back of the pack last year. Williams was the other team in the battle for the wooden spoon, although they fell just short of Sauber in that regard. Williams has been a team in financial strife since about 2006, right as BMW moved from Williams to Sauber, and despite the occasional surge in performance, they've been a very long-term backmarker. For 2025, it would seem that Williams is once again a team not to watch. But there are a few potential positive signs from the British team, one of which has been pre-season testing. Carlos Sainz went fastest overall, beating his old team Ferrari. This is a great surprise to everyone involved, but there's one thing you should always remember. You don't draw conclusions from testing. Testing has had a number of shocking results that have seen less experienced pundits scrambling to declare that there is a new frontier in Formula 1. The reality is, in many such cases, that these declarations usually fail to materialise. In fact, Sauber is a team that's very familiar with the title of champions of testing, so Williams should take note. When they first came into Formula 1 from their days of sports car racing during the 90s, they immediately shocked the world by setting impressive lap times that had some predicting the team, which was greatly successful in sports car racing, would see such success in Formula 1 in 1993. They did not. A similar story came about featuring Sauber in 2015. They were finishing well. In fact, Felipe Nasser topped the timesheets of the final day. Finally, Sauber were going to be in the running for race wins and podiums. They finished 8th in the Constructors' Championship that year. All of this is to say, Williams going fastest is promising, but it's ultimately meaningless. It's possible they will see an uptick in performance, but once again, if they're smart, they'll be focusing on 2026. But there is one other possibility. They may be doing a bit of do whatever they don't do. With the rest of the field most likely focusing on 2026, Williams could try focusing on 2025, whilst nobody else is, and therefore gain a whole lot of performance. But I think this is unlikely, as it would be only worth it if they actually win the Constructors' Championship. They've had other times where they were near the front before falling to the pack in the past. You may be thinking of Maldonado's victory at the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, but they only managed 8th in the Constructors that year. I'm talking about 2014 to 2016. In 2014, they finished 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. The Mercedes engine that they switched to was amazing with its split turbo, giving all the Mercedes-powered cars great straight-line speed. Williams in the long term has a low drag philosophy, making it unsurprising that in this era of extremely powerful F1 engines and very low drag cars in general, it was a Williams car that broke the F1 race speed record at the Mexican Grand Prix. In the 2015 British Grand Prix, they were leading with a 1-2, only to ruin it with idiotic strategy and giving team orders for Bottas not to pass Massa, despite being faster, allowing the Mercedes duo to catch and pass the pair of them. But that car was amazing. Yet still, in the space of 2 years, Williams fell out of touch, with the team dropping to 5th in 2016 and 2017, and then down to 10th for the following year. A single year at the front doesn't do much for the long-term performance of the team unless they actually take the Constructors' Championship, which, at their current state, Williams is very much incapable of doing. This means it's highly unlikely that Williams will develop the car during 2025. Only top teams can benefit from development at the moment. What about the driver lineup? Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon is indeed a very strong lineup. Albon is a driver that you can almost sense was born to be a number 2 driver. He's solid, but nothing special. And with the arrival of Carlos Sainz, he can now truly serve his birthright role as a supporting act for the main man. Carlos Sainz's arrival is great for the team technically, so having 2 competent drivers in the car will give the team great technical insight as they can test split setups between the cars. This isn't something that can be done when you have a gentleman driver like Logan Sargent, who was given the role purely because there weren't any Americans on the grid, making him more of a diversity hire than a serious racing driver. This means that although the car won't be developed in terms of new parts and upgrades being brought, they will be able to do better work on things such as the setup. And of course, with all the development work that was done on the car last year for this year's car before the development of 26 cars was unfrozen, so we may see an uptick in performance from the Williams F1 team this year, but don't expect any result better than 7th or so in the Constructors' Championship. I'll be back tomorrow with the next pair of cars to talk about.